Hello, welcome to this lesson. This is part of Unit 1 of the training from Snapshots of the Borders, and this unit, I remind you, is about advocacy. It follows other previous lessons about the theory of change, implementing change, and also the vocabulary and expressions of power. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at how to start developing an advocacy strategy. And the takeaways from this lesson are going to start with what is the problem? Because an advocacy campaign or an effort is to bring a problem to the agenda of those who can be in a decision-making position to change the situation. Then once you identify the problem, of course, if you are developing a strategy, you need to define the path. The foundation work, research, the development of the policy, of the advocacy strategy, the feedback loop cycles that are very necessary, and assessment and evaluation of success thresholds. Of course, you need success indicators in the form of milestones. Looking at advocacy, I would like to take you back to the introductory lesson of this unit, so that we read again the definition of advocacy, because it helps us go back and focus again about what we're talking about. Advocacy is a process aiming at bringing change in the policies, practices, and attitudes of individuals, influential people, institutions, and groups. Through advocacy, we put a problem on the political agenda, providing a solution to that problem, and building support for applying the solution in order to change the situation. It is about achieving specific outcomes, a measurable change in policies and practices. We can look at the advocacy strategy cycle. Now, this image looks very complex, but if you take time to look at it, you will realize that technically you have represented in it many things, including the monitoring and evaluation that is done by a central group, by a central theme. That is what we got from the theory of change lesson. Then at the top, the red box, you have defined the issue, and you help define it not on your own, but by networking, through research, by capacity building, legitimacy. Legitimacy means, why should you be talking about it? Why are you in a position to talk about it? Then if you go with the circle of the red squares, you realize about the cycle, how it goes. First you define the issue, then you set the goal for your advocacy. You design a policy map, what policy you wish to be implemented by the decision makers, set your objectives, choose strategies and tactics, prepare for war, develop key messages, this is the lobbying part, and develop and implement the action plan so that you reach a solution, you reach the goal of your campaign. After defining the cycle, you need to group your stakeholders in groups. There are your friends, your allies, your competitors. Now, your competitors, it does not mean that they are enemies. But sometimes your competitors, that they are maybe lobbying and they are embarking on an advocacy effort that matches the philosophy. Maybe you join forces. Maybe you learn their successes and drive behind them so that you gain from their support. Then you have the targets. And the targets are the lobbying persons, those you want to influence with your advocacy campaign. And the targets, in all fairness, could be the community, because through wide ownership of the problem you have identified, showing that it is a problem belonging to many, or if it does not belong to many, many are concerned about it, like poverty. Even the rich are concerned about poverty, at least by lip service. But in that case, they are your targets of your campaign, because you need to show that you have massive support. Then there are your constituents, those players that also share your interest, that those could become your allies in the future. So you have stakeholders that can move from one circle to another. And then you have your opponents, those who feel that you are giving too many rights too soon, they are not in our context. As is with everything, there are interests in both directions. Now we need to look how you separate your target audiences. You have the formal decision makers, and that could be the legislator, the person or the body that makes the final decision. Then you have the informal decision makers, and these could vary depending on context. For example, if you are lobbying about how migrants are treated in a certain circumstance, maybe there is no need of legislation or policy. It could be that NGO that works with them that can already bring in your results. So this all depends on context, of course. And then there are the pressure makers, the public, the media, your fellow local councillors. Let us stay in the context of this project. This is another way in this slide of how to present the advocacy cycle. And this is very much about the marketing aspect. And if you look at it, it goes from media relations, internal communication, digital media, reputation management. Maybe you find a figurehead that champions your idea. Community relations, both for engagement and also for public relations. Crisis communication. Let us say something goes wrong. You need to have a team organized to respond and to respond clearly. And then event planning, because event is not as in public event, it could be also an online event. It could be the launch of a newsletter. It could be the launch of a new website. These are all events that are important in the life cycle of an advocacy plan. Let us go through a couple of examples that I would like to share with you, and one is also linked to the task I would like you to engage with us after this lesson. If you look at this slide, this is example 1. This is a generic scheme of an advocacy strategy. You see that there is the problem, then there is the problem statement, the goal of what the advocacy effort would like to achieve, the objective, which is also a threshold, and then that leads to the success indicator. If you want something to pass through the European Parliament or through local parliament or through the municipality, you need a 50+1 majority. So this is a success threshold, a simple one. I would like to share with you a second example that we built as part of a European project. We were in a project at one point, and it was about the sustainability of NGOs that worked in culture. And although it was the mission of the project to identify opportunities for sustainability, we went a bit of a step further. We wanted to look at a hypothetical organization that makes an inventory of what it is able to do now, what it would like to achieve, in this case it was European funding, and what it needed to do before just going and apply for funding. We will make this slide available also to download so that you can look at it in more detail. Actually, you could even print it. You see that the whole scheme is divided into 3 parts, because first there was the internal inventory, so the organization looking at itself at what it is right now. Then, in the second part, it is assessing what resources there are and what you want to achieve before you go for European funding, which topics, how you are selective according to the resources you have. And in the last part, when you embark, how to embark. And this is pretty much a mind map in 3 stages of setting up a campaign, setting up a strategy that is for sustainability of an organization. It works exactly in the same manner as a startup. Remember, we used the lean canvas in the previous lesson. In this case, this could be a scheme to help you discipline thought. And we will use this later in the task after the lesson so that you look at this and you put yourself in a position at one point on this mind map. Let us draw a summary from this lesson. And basically, we went through, if you are setting up an advocacy strategy, you start with defining the issue, therefore, what is the problem? Then you choose the path, the cycle, and you choose those allies and you classify your foes and allies. And then you set yourself success indicators, like milestones, opportunities to regroup. This is the part of the cycle, by not imagining your advocacy cycle to go from A to Z, but to create spaces where you sit down and regroup and rethink. And here comes the mini task. We would like you to look at that mind map, which we called the fund fishing kit. Coming from Malta, that you expect that fishing comes into it. We would like you to find 3 boxes. There are many boxes. And we would like you to find those 3 boxes with which you can identify right now in your situation. And we would like you that in the forum after this lesson, that you say, these 3 boxes apply to me and why. And explaining maybe a little bit about your context, so to help us understand why you feel that those boxes apply to you, to your situation, or maybe to your organization. Thank you.